Hola mi gente! You are listening to Dancing into Parenthood, the Entre la Familia series, where Latinos get to hear our stories about raising our children with special needs. I am your host, Dr. Divina Lopez, board certified pediatrician for over 10 years and mom to a little boy with autism and ADHD. My motherhood journey has been my greatest inspiration to creating this podcast because when it comes to our community, we have unique circumstances that we keep entre la familia that we need to share and no longer keep quiet about. On this show, I will give you the tools, information, and strategies to raising a happy and healthy human being. Each week, I am connecting you with other Latino families who have generously shared their personal journeys and struggles so that you can have clarity and insight on what it takes to raise such a special child. Before the episode starts, I want to remind you to follow us on social so you don't miss out on all the support I love to share with you. You can find us on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok at Dr. Divina Lopez, and any place that you hang out on the internet. Also, I can't wait to start the parent sessions. We're starting group parent sessions and I want you to be there. I want to help guide you if you are struggling with parenthood, if you don't have support, if you're insecure about the choices that you're making for your child, if you just want to get it right for your child, then I encourage you to join the 12-week program where we will meet once a week and I will teach you how to advocate for your child, how to navigate the medical system, how to navigate the educational system, where to find your support system, and how to build healthy family relationships so we can break those toxic cycles, create boundaries with family members, and also learn to love ourselves through it all. All right, mi gente, I want to see you there. So make sure that you go to my website and that you drop your email in there. That way you are the first to know when the group sessions start. Now let's get into the episode. Hello, and welcome back to Dancing into Parenthood. I'm your host, Dr. Divina Lopez, board certified pediatrician for over 10 years and mom to a little boy with autism and ADHD. And we have taken a total pivot on Dancing into Parenthood because we are now talking to moms, and I'm really focusing on Latina moms and their whole journey with their own children with special needs. And Jessica Casillas, right over here, that we have today, my guest, she actually was my neighbor. I just moved about a month ago. And so I used to like walk past her house almost on a daily basis to bring my son to school and pick him up. And, you know, it's so funny because I lived in that town for 6 years and I didn't know Jess until about like last year. And it's also because she is a salsera like I am. So you could catch her on the dance floor. She's fierce. And I really love that about her. And that's actually like what bonded us, right? But I used to see her when I would pass her house. I used to see her and I used to see her son, Austin. And I, you know, just from my observations, I always wondered, and I always wanted to talk to her. And one day she actually approached me because she needed a caretaker. And that's how we like really started like talking. But we were actually at the same dance school and we both didn't even know it. Uh, so just, you know, one thing I want to say is, you know, thank you for saying yes immediately when I asked you to do this podcast, because I think, you know, as a mom that you understand how important it is to share this information. But one of the things that I admire about you is the way you are with your son. You know, he's 26 years old, he's an adult, and she's so good about like I see her routine with him. I see how like strong she is with him and I'm like, "Oh my goodness, I really need to get a little bit of that, right?" Because she's gone through it. She's gone through it. She knows what it's all about, and that's the reason why I wanted to have her on the podcast. And she's shared bits and pieces of her story with me, but I'm really excited to hear about it today. And you know, Jess, I really would like for you to start off with what were like the first signs and symptoms that were concerning to you that brought you, to the doctor, just asking, what we should do for your son, and if you could elaborate on that.
Sure. Well, first, thank you for having me on. I appreciate all the generous things you said about me, and especially the fear salsera piece, which I'm still learning. And thank you for that huge compliment.
She's
So
Edie Chacon on the dance floor. That's what you don't know.
yes, yes. I am Edie Chacon's sister. That was actually my first dance teacher. So and I'm proud to say it.
Yes.
We grew up watching her show and all her dances, and that's where we got that little shake from. But yeah, so Austin is my second child, and my daughter, I have in what they say Irish twins when kids are born, within 14 months of each other.
Right.
So my daughter was born a year, 14 months before my son was. I had them very close, and I went back to work immediately, 3-4 months after the children were born. I think with Austin, I went to work even back to work sooner.
Because it's your second. Yeah.
And Alex, my oldest daughter, she reached all the milestones right away. And I guess because they were so close in age, I really didn't notice the lag on Austin's side.
Okay.
And he, some of the hallmark signs, I think at the beginning, Alex was so feisty, and I don't want to say temperamental because she's upstairs and I don't want her to get insulted.
But, she's lovely. I love Alex.
I would say feisty and very demanding all the time. And then when Austin was born, he was the opposite. Very quiet,
easy baby.
He was the ideal baby. I said, oh my God, I want to have 10 more.
Of these.
One of the signs I did notice, and I should have, jumped on that a little more, was, I breastfed. And while I did the breastfeeding portion, I really noticed that we weren't locking eyes. And that was at the beginning.
Okay, so comparing to your breastfeeding with Alex.
Oh, right. Alex, we locked eyes. That whole bonding moment occurred. We constantly, we're looking at each other. And with Austin, it was fleeting. So I would grab it once in a while, and then it was fleeting. It looked elsewhere. And again, since I had basically 2 young children, it was like, okay, let's get the process. And he gulped. So he ate, he did what he had to do, and it was over.
Was he colicky?
No, not at all. Like I'm saying, he's the ideal baby. He never, once I put him in the crib to go to sleep, the bassinet, he went to sleep. He didn't ask to be picked up again. None of the things that my daughter did, like didn't want to go to sleep, that I had to hold her, till 4 o'clock in the morning, the rocking chair routine, none of that. He was an ideal baby. Another thing, and then as he got a little bit older, I started noticing a couple of things like, where most kids, remember when the kids were younger and you would put them under the toy that had all the different gadgets, and it was
like the mat with
with all the toys, the colorful toys above you, where it prompts
like the jungle gym thing.
Reach you, and again, that was one toy that I really noticed that he wasn't as engaged as my daughter was. You would spend hours with it.
She would swat at them and everything, but he was like, okay.
He swatted at them, but not as often. He really didn't have much interest, but he never complained. And so, that's, these are one of the hallmark signs. Like I would say, I'd rather, looking back, if your baby's not complaining and not acting in that type of manner, I think immediately that's a first sign. So you want, a pain in the ass baby. A pain in the ass baby is a good sign. Don't condemn it. Just be like, oh, this is good. Like the more noise they make, the better it is.
I'm gonna say something about that, Jess. So in my interview with Teresa, and actually myself, I also had the very opposite experience. I had a super colicky baby who was very, very interested in everything, who never ever slept. And so this is why it's so important to understand that there's a spectrum, right?
Yes.
Like you can have these babies who are super quiet and perfect, right? Like, oh my God, this is like the best baby ever because he sleeps so well. He doesn't really cry. He's not really needy or anything like that, right? He enjoys being by himself and stuff like that. And then you can have the opposite where in my first interview on the podcast, getting back to the special needs moms, she spoke about how she could never put her kid down. I could never put my son down, like never. So it's these extremes at both ends, right? You need something in the middle. Something in the middle is more typical. Either of the extremes, just so the parents know, should be a warning sign, should be concerning to you. A baby who's a little too complacent and happy and easygoing, and a baby who's super, super fussy are the ones where those are the early signs.
Exactly. And to your point, the spectrum is huge.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to pinpoint. That's why this disorder has been a mystery for so many years.
Right.
So then, time went on, time progressed. I noticed him, I would bring him all the toys, the typical toys that were out in the market at that time. He wasn't interested in anything, and he would like to go, which most typical children do also. They love the pots and pans. So
Yeah.
he would love the pots and pans, the wooden sticks. And sometimes then I guess at one point I noticed even that change, and it went from being that type of active to all of a sudden, literally, I have pictures. I've seen like the life come out of his eyes. Like all of a sudden,
How old was he when that happened?
he's probably about 2 years old.
Right. So
Around two.
this is a time where you can see some regressions, right?
Oh,
And that's
major.
exactly what that's called. It's like the parents will tell me they were talking, they were saying some words, and now all of a sudden they stopped. Like they're not doing the things that they used to do. And this what you said of the life taken out, I've heard this before. Parents
Like,
describe it just like that.
even though up to birth to 2 years old, like, again, looking back at it, there was still some type of animation, some type of joy, some type of activity.
Yeah.
But then came a point, and I'll share the picture with you one day, like his face, just no engagement.
Expressions.
No expression. It's mute. It's
right. Yeah.
Just expressionless.
Yeah.
And I have a picture with him. He's actually lying on the floor, on his side, and I think he's just playing with the little car, and his thoughts and his look seem miles and miles away. And I have that picture. So anyway, about he was 2 years old and 4 months, 2 years and 4 months old. And again, another hallmark sign, my mother called him and was calling him, and he wasn't looking at her.
He wasn't responding, where previously he did.
Well, I don't think we ever got to that point where, I don't recall.
But that was always a delay for him.
Yeah, yeah, right. So, when she brought it to my attention, she said to me, Jessica, I think your son is deaf. And I said, oh, come on, Mom, no way. And how I tested it, I actually put him in the kitchen. And, during that time, it was that whole Barney era, or, Barney and Disney, who were actually the substitute caregivers. Right. And everyone better not lie about this, okay?
Right.
So as soon as the Barney or any of the Disney classics went on, his eyes went up, his ears perked, and he would walk to the living room to watch TV.
Okay.
Despite all of that, I did take him for further testing, and he passed it with flying colors.
So you got his hearing checked, and
I
you were
got
like,
to say, well, the
"Okay,
first
that's
thing
not
I
the
did was
problem."
not, it wasn't the hearing at, at that point that she told me that, I had, the Bible at that time, what to expect,
Yeah.
during the toddler years.
Yeah.
And at that point, I started researching and I started noticing more of the regression, delays, and just his overall composure.
Yeah.
And after I read a couple of segments and I got to the autism part, I said, crap, this is it. Like I knew it.
Yeah.
Because everything was there. So I literally hid that definition,
Yeah.
from everyone until I took him for an evaluation.
So wait, let me stop you there. Did his pediatrician ever have any like concerns about his development? Did he ever bring that up to you or anything like that?
No, not at all. And I
Never.
don't think, to be fair, I think that during that time, during the early years, again, just because they were so close, you always had like two kids in your arms and it was super busy during that time. They're both basically in diapers.
Yeah.
It probably wasn't as much concern. Boys typically start a little later than girls. So, you went under that pretense and you let it go on until probably it was a little too late. If he was probably
this was also 26 years ago, probably before they had
exactly
all the developmental screeners that we use now for the well baby visits. It was probably before all of this, right?
Yeah, it was 26. But even though like I thought for them back at that time, autism wasn't it probably was at the forefront at that time because there were so many cases during but up to that point, I didn't even hear of one. I didn't even know
You
of
didn't
any.
know someone who had autism.
No one, nothing.
You see how much has exploded since then.
Right. So I decided at that time, let me take him for an evaluation after I read the segment on autism.
So this was you proactively just getting him help, not you going to the pediatrician saying,
oh no,
I read this thing. Okay.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So I went ahead, I initiated the visit and I went with my husband and, they make you fill out I don't know, a 3-4 page
whole
questionnaire.
evaluation, the questionnaire. Yeah.
They were there for about 3 hours.
Mhm.
And, like I told you before, the way, the doctors I felt they were a little callous, insensitive.
Yeah.
And, they actually broke the news to me with, Mrs. Casillas, your worst fears have been confirmed. Austin does have autism.
Imagine receiving news like that, like your worst fears have been confirmed. What kind of delivery is this, or bedside manner, or anything? It's like that. I hope
I'll
that
tell
people
you
don't
why,
do that
because one of the questions from Hackensack Hospital on the evaluation is, what is your worst fear?
Wow.
They have it spelled out like that. So they just verbatim took that line and handed it back to me.
Right.
So I was like, whoa. Now my husband, of course, he didn't fill out any of this. He just sat next to me and hung out and, read magazines. And I, as the mom, filled out everything, all the information. So, when the diagnosis was delivered to us, he had no idea because I didn't share any of this with him. So he saw my reaction and he was like, what's going on, Jessica? Like, what's wrong?
Yeah.
And then, I somehow managed to walk out of that office in one piece, and they gave me the resources that I needed to go follow up with.
Yeah.
And, at that point, it's like a blur.
Yeah. It's like you receive something like that and you're in shock, right?
Shock. I really wasn't in shock. I was more, God, maybe because I read up on it and I sort of had a hunch. It wasn't a shock. It was just something it's still something that you don't want to hear, because I've done, at that point, I already had done research on it. I had seen the prognosis on it, and I already knew I already had an outlook of somewhat of an outlook of what my life was going to look like next for the future. So I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So, when a parent is given this type of diagnosis, it is hard. It is probably one of the worst things you're probably ever going to receive, because let's face it, when you have children, you're thinking of all the milestones. You're thinking about pre-K, you're thinking 8th grade, you're thinking high school, driving, proms, all of that, marriage, college, all of those good things. And in a fleeting moment, everything is like, it's like your life flashes by and you're like, whoa. So it was, it was hard. It was hard.
And how did that affect your relationship with your husband?
Well, my husband and I, we were crying tremendously after we left Hackensack Hospital. And the poor man, he's Cuban, he's 10 years older than me, never heard of the word autism. And he was like, he thought it was like the end of the world. He was like, what is it, Jessica? What is it? What's going on? And, between sobs and just really just trying to control myself, I try to explain it to him.
The doctor didn't explain it to him.
No, this is all on Route 4 going home.
Oh, goodness.
And I remember.
You live in Bergen County.
No, I lived in Hudson County at that point.
You lived in Hudson County.
I lived in Union City. So could you, it was trying for a while. And then, we were just, once I explained it to him, we both started to cry, hysterical in the car. And, we're both it was a scene out of a movie, screaming, yelling, sobbing. It was terrible. And then somehow during this madness, we actually got composed. And he said to me, Jessica, what are you going to do? You're going to give what are you going to do? You're going to put him up for adoption? What are you going to do? And he was joking.
Right.
I said, no, of course not. He goes, well, you know what? We're going to handle it. We're going to figure it out. And let's just figure it out and let's move forward with this. And at that point, it was already like 1:00 in the afternoon. And we actually went to a restaurant. We ordered a bottle of wine. I put him in a high chair and we just drank the bottle of wine, probably a shot or two of tequila. I don't know. We laughed. We talked.
This is why I love you so much, because I mean, you're so real, right?
That's exactly what we did. And so now we're like buzzed and we're like, oh my God, what are we doing? Like, what's gonna happen, this and that. So we figured it out. So okay, and he basically said, Jessica, you know what you have to do. You you take care of everything on the back end, because I wasn't, how, and I have nothing against men, but the mother is this is our
primary caregiver.
We're the primary caregiver. This is what we do. And I said, don't worry about it, let me handle it. And that's what we did. The awkward part was, like, the whole family knew that today was the test, and they're all waiting for me back at the house. Big Spanish family, everybody, the in-laws, everyone. So I'm like, how are we going to handle this?
Because they were all like wondering what was going on with him this whole time.
Yeah, they all wanted to know, and I shared everything with them, for as much as I felt comfortable with. And then, when I went home, now it was the hard part, and, and the reactions, so I basically said to them, well, Jesse, what happened? I said, well, they think he may have this. you know,
Right.
he may. I didn't go out full force because why put it out in the universe, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
He may have this. And then everyone's like, oh my God, you know, like they didn't really know much about it either, but they knew, they had an idea.
Right.
So then with that, they basically left me to my own devices,
Okay.
and they gave me tremendous support. But this is
That's
something that
nice.
the family, you really, it's something that the mother, the primary caregiver, and
Mhm.
the child really needs to do at this point. You
Yes.
know, because at this point, you really, you know, you could feel sorry for yourself, but I would say feel sorry for yourself 24 hours. That's
Mm.
it. Because you
Mhm.
have somebody right now that is going to
Terrible.
depend on you for
Yeah.
the rest of their life,
Yeah.
and you need to be their advocate. So
Yes.
you need to be strong,
Yes.
keep your shit together,
Yeah.
get a notebook,
Yeah.
and start writing everything down
Record
and
everything.
meet a lot of different professionals. And
Yes.
I'll tell you, one of my takeaways from those early days was I this one educator from, or therapist or whatever, from Rutgers told me.
Mhm. Mhm.
He said, don't worry so much about the diagnosis, just worry about getting him the help.
The services,
Whatever,
the
just
support. Yeah.
get him the services.
Yeah.
And another thing that I would tell parents, like even when the kid is getting a little bit better, always make it the worst case scenario, because
Yes.
you want to get as
As much.
much of the services as possible, because they're already starting at the gate
Yeah.
with these issues. And remember, you only have until 21 years of age.
Yeah.
And what I would say is, I don't care. Just clobber the kid with all these therapies, everything. Keep them busy, keep the neurons
Yes.
activated, keep them
Yes.
moving, keep them
Yeah.
going. You
Yeah.
know, they can't, you know, and if you start reading like Dr. Luvas and all his research and like some of the things that he did, where they went intensive from 2 years old to 21, almost 24 hours. And you see some of these kids today, you know,
Mhm.
it's a small percentage because not everyone's the same, but some of them were able to push through
Yeah.
that autism mark, and they're functioning adults.
Pretty typical.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty
They're pretty.
typical.
There is a percentage of people who don't even have the diagnosis after a while, right?
And the thing is that, you know, you don't know if your kid's in that 2%, but you gotta, because everyone's different, but you gotta think that they're in that top
Yeah.
2%.
You have to give them
And
every
you
opportunity.
have to give them every opportunity. So, because not everyone's gonna, even the ones that, not everyone's gonna break through. There's going to be a very small percentage going to break through, and they still don't break through like a quote typical person. They
Right.
still have their autism, but if you don't give them those services, they're not going to progress. They're going
Never
to,
gonna get there.
you have to give them the most,
Yeah.
you know, opportunity. So my son, he's nonverbal.
Mm-hmm.
He's 27 years old. And one of the things that I did also during those early years, because since I didn't know anyone with autism,
Mm-hmm.
I made sure, like I said, I want to see this. Like, how do
Yeah.
these people look? Like, you know,
Yeah.
like it was like I was looking at like a strange creature. I want to see,
Right.
how does autism look?
You want them more information. Yeah.
And I found out through the grapevine, certain people that I knew had children with autism. So I literally picked up the phone, introduced myself, told them my situation, and said, hey, can I come over? And I
Yeah.
was being very honest. And these mothers were super nice. It's, yeah, come on over. And I went over with Austin, and, you know, I was seeing the kid, and did he have any horns coming out of his head
Yeah. Yeah.
or anything like that? And after I did my survey and I saw all these wonderful young little boys, and who was drawing, and who had the therapist coming in all the time, and it doesn't matter truly your socioeconomic level because everyone was doing the same thing. So
Yes.
there's no excuse whether you live
Yes.
in the hood
Absolutely.
or you're a millionaire.
Yes.
The
Yes.
services
Services are
and
available.
the practices are the same.
Yes.
They're pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe the people with a little bit more affluent, maybe they could get more hours.
Right. Because they could also
There's
do like the outpatient private stuff on their own.
right, but there's still ways today, especially now that it's been covered by insurance.
Yeah.
That, you know, back in those days, speech therapy was not covered.
Oh, wow.
No, the early days, speech therapy was not covered. I
There
had
was no early intervention?
they did early intervention, but it was only like a couple hours per week. So if you
Wow.
wanted to do more, you know, you had to pay out of pocket. So
Wow. Yeah.
we paid a lot out of pocket. But today it's covered by insurance
Yeah.
because
So they do.
autism now is a legit medical condition.
Yes.
So, and then my walk away from all of these young men was, you know, I said, I made peace with it.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
made peace with it. I said, you know, if this is the worst that could happen, I could deal with this because once you're catapulted into this special needs community,
Mm-hmm.
you see everything.
Yeah.
And I've seen kids who can't breathe on their own.
Yeah.
I've seen kids that are in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
I've seen kids with cancer.
Yeah.
I've seen kids in worse situations than this.
Yeah.
And I've said to myself, I'll take this.
Yeah.
If this
Yeah.
is what if this is my calling and this
Mm-hmm.
is what I have to deal with, this is it. And
Yeah.
once you embrace that, and
Mm-hmm.
you'll be able to deal with it a lot better.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of moments. I sometimes I experience it today, you know, and I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. There's going to be times where bullying occurs for the kids that are more typical, that they can actually experience this and feel this.
Yeah.
There's going to be times when you drive by and you see like one of the things that literally broke my heart all the time was the prom season when Austin was going through like oh my God, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah.
That was terrible for me because I would see what if, could have, you know,
Right.
and
Right.
you would see all the kids outside getting ready for the prom and all that stuff. That was a tearjerker for me. That I don't know how I survived those years. I'm so glad he's out of that school system part because I don't get to see it as
Yeah.
much. But you know, everyone, you know, in his grade who was typical, who was going through high school and the prom and all this stuff. But it makes you stronger.
Mm-hmm.
You fight through it,
Yeah.
and you'll be able to deal with other challenges.
Well, there is definitely that mourning process, right? Like
Oh yeah.
there is a real thing, and I don't know if parents know this, but there is a real mourning, right? Because just like you
Yes.
said from earlier on, you said like you had all these ideas of what's gonna happen with your child and their major milestones in life. And a lot of times parents ask me, like, what does this mean? What does this mean for the future? And I always tell them, like, I don't have a crystal ball. Like, I wish I had a crystal ball for my own child, right? And I wish I could tell you, but I can't tell you those things. But I think parents do have to allow themselves to mourn that life that you thought you were going to have, that you thought your child was going to have, and now they're not going to live that, right? And how it's going to shift and change, and you know, what does this really mean for your family, right? What about Alex? How was she as a big sister? How did this affect her?
Oh, you know, she's actually here. I don't know if she would come down and tell you about it, but I think Alex was great about it. And she realized that, you know, he was special from that point on. And, you know, during that time, there was a lot of attention focused on him. And, you know,
did she ever feel neglected?
I don't think she felt neglected, but I mean, possibly could have, because it's only natural.
Most siblings do.
Yeah,
most siblings do.
it's natural for something like this to occur because of the situation.
Yeah.
So she's a wonderful big sister. She loves him dearly. He actually listens to her more than to me, because he knows.
They're probably really close.
Yeah, because she, you know, he knows that I'm the pushover because I'm the mom.
Like
Alex, oh yeah, Alex talks to him with her eyes.
Yeah,
and he knows not to even do anything. And Austin, even with his autism, like they're smart. Like he still knows, like he'll look at me like I'm like, oh my God,
help me out here.
I'm like, no, I can't help you. I'm not going to override, you know, her decision at this point. But, you know, even, you know, like, you know, he loves his junk food. And, you know, if he goes with her to the supermarket, he knows not to even think about bringing a bag of chips into the shopping cart. While when he's with me, he it's like he can't even manage. He's got like 20 bags. And you know, I have exercises set in place where I do the process of elimination at the checkout counter. So this one or this one, and he
pick one. We're not getting both.
And he picks one, and I put it in the bag. I mean, in the car. But yeah, it's been an incredible journey, and you shouldn't be afraid of it. You should really, you know, embrace it and tackle it. And very important, one of the things my husband and I did, and maybe I should have, you know, looking back again, because it's been so many years, maybe I should have been a little bit more flexible. But when Austin was diagnosed with this, and I read everything, all this, how they have their customs and their ways, my husband and I decided that we weren't going to live Austin's life. Austin is going to live our life. Okay. And because my husband and I, we were very social. We did a lot of things and very active. And you know how everyone says, oh, they need their routine and they get overstimulated, all this stuff. Yeah. We did everything opposite. Okay. And what we did, and this is something that I strongly urge, like, don't totally reinvent your life because of this. Like if you still go out to dinner once or twice a week, and you're bringing your other children to it, you bring him too. Yes, yeah. And he's great at restaurants, because I've been with them at a restaurant. He even knows how to use his knife and everything. Yes, but that's what I'm trying to say, is that you need from an early age to incorporate him into every single aspect of your life. Yes. And trust me, we have had issues from him having a temper tantrum in the airline, on the plane, not wanting to come out, where everyone has had to leave when he was younger, like we're talking 6, 7, and basically us doing like Spanish people do, take him out by the collar, and no, you're coming out. Like none of this, like, oh, come on, little Johnny, come on out. No. Like, we gotta go. So we gotta go. Get up, like the same way you would treat your typical anybody kid, else. Yeah, you have to treat him like that, because they will get away literally with murder. Yeah. So we've had many incidences with things like that. Yeah. Him actually, this is younger. I remember once we were at a restaurant, he actually took a piece of food and he just randomly flung it across the other side, and it landed on someone else's table.
Oh
And
my,
me like hiding him, like the guy was looking to see who threw
who
the
did
food.
it? Yeah.
And we were just like, everyone at my table saw what Austin did, but the guy on the other table never knew who did it. We just like, oh yeah, this and that. So there are things that's going to happen, but guess what? It happens with typical children too.
And you lived through it.
And you know what? It's just
And it's okay.
heightened. Your senses are heightened because when you go out with a child with autism, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Could be a good day or a bad day.
It
Yeah.
could be a good day or a bad day, and you just gotta be able to roll with it. And you know, you have to have, it's true, like you are in a heightened state. You're like always on alert, you know, okay, what's he gonna do? You know, and that's the way it is. So it makes you, I think it definitely sharpens us.
Oh, for sure.
You know, like our skills, like our senses are on overdrive.
You know how to read people better.
Yes.
Emotionally, especially, it's like, it's not a good day today. But what are we gonna have to do now?
And don't get one of the things, because these are some of the feelings I had, like don't get embarrassed or don't get what's the word that I'm looking for?
Isolated?
Not isolated. There's another word that when, you know, you feel self-conscious.
Oh yeah.
You feel really self-conscious when you go out with a child with autism because he's going to be either making strange sounds, he's going to be doing either flapping his hands or holding his ears or doing something like that. I urge you all, wear your high heels, chest out, pocketbook on the side, and keep it moving. If you cower, he's gonna sense it, and the public's gonna be all over you. They're gonna eat you up. You have to go in con la cara dura, straight back, take them on the side, and you have to be strong. And that's one thing that it has made me.
Not to feel shameful.
It's made me bolder, you know, and stronger. So if you have to start, you know, changing a little those things if you're feeling like that. And
especially if you're a side person, like I am very shy, and that was very hard for me. Very, very hard for me. I isolated a lot at first because I was like, I can't handle this. I'm alone. It's just me and him. And as he got older and he got stronger, it got harder because the tantrums, I couldn't like hold him down or anything. I couldn't like, come on, let's go. There was a period around like 3-4 years old where the tantrums were really bad and he was strong. He was really strong. And I remember, like, I've told this story before, like being at Turtlebox Zoo, and he had this horrible tantrum because he wanted to keep going on the carousel again and again and again and again. And I was like, okay, Papi, after 3 times, like, I don't have another $1 to give them. And I mean, he went berserk, and he was like, he was doing all of this stuff, and he missed a nap. That was also my fault. That was my fault. And this one mom, I wish I took her name down because she came over to me and she said, did he miss his nap? Because everybody was staring at me because he was acting like a demon, and I couldn't hold. I'm small, right? So it was so hard for me. I was struggling. I was like trying to get him back in the carriage. He wouldn't even go in the carriage. I was like, oh my God, we're never gonna go home. And this one mom was so nice, and she just came over to me. She's like, did he miss his nap? That happens, you know? And she just made me feel like this was normal. And while everybody else was staring at me, and I was like, oh my God, I feel so embarrassed right now. Yeah.
You know, you made a really strong point there that everyone really needs to recognize is they don't stay tiny all the time. Or, you know, they
right. You have a 27-year-old.
They're going to grow and they're going to be big. And I remember one piece of advice that my husband's aunt told me, who has a son with special needs. She said to me, Jessica, you gotta, if he pushes you, you better push him back. Like, don't let him
bully you.
Don't let him bully you, because if you let him bully you, that's it. It's going to be, he'll never respect you.
Yeah.
And, Austin has had some meltdowns in the past
Yeah.
where, sometimes after the incident has passed, I always check my face to see if he scratched me or
Yeah.
anything like that,
Yeah.
just to check, because
Yeah.
there are times where, and I get it, he's frustrated. He
Mhm.
can't speak. He probably wants to tell me he doesn't want to do this, or maybe something hurts, or I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. And based on his sheer frustration, he'll lash out at me.
Yeah.
But thank God to this point, like he has not like physically
Hurt you.
hurt me. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
I've
only been
seen,
like a little scratch on my hands.
yeah,
And
I've seen that. I've actually been in the office and had like kids like attack their mom. And that's really hard. It's like me bringing the kid off of the mom. I've had that happen a few times. I've had a kid punch me in the stomach because he was losing it in the office, and I was trying to help his mom like calm him down, and he just like boom. And they're strong at 12 years old. They're strong, and that kid was 12. I remember clearly, like we had to call 911 because he was losing it so bad, and nobody could like console him. Like he just wouldn't calm down. He was going crazy in the room, And so I've encountered that a few times from not my son, but from other kids. And I mean, my son has gotten to the point where he's even threatened me one time. I'm like, are you serious? Because my son is super verbal. He's like a parrot. And then and I was like, bro, you need to relax. Do you realize what you're saying? And he's like, I'm so angry. Like they get to a point sometimes where there's like no return. And I tell him that, like, are you getting to the point of no return? Let's do our, what do we have in our toolbox right now? Can we breathe? Can we punch a pillow? Can we do, I have boxing gloves for him and a punching bag for him. Because I'm like, sometimes we really need to physically get out our anger. And I get it. I'm the same way. I have a lot of energy, and sometimes I just want to, So I'm like, bro, if you need to do it, there's the gloves and the punching bag, but it's not me. I'm not the one.
That's another great point that you just brought up. And I think it's really important also is, just because they have autism, they are like typical people like ourselves.
Yeah,
like
anybody.
they need to work out. They need to exert themselves. They need to have physical fitness because they have bottled up energy. They are exactly like us, like a typical person with feelings and happiness and sadness and boredom. They get bored too. They love it. And that's another thing, because we are it. They depend on us.
Yeah.
We're the ones that have to take them out to eat, take them to the beach, take them here. So if you don't do that, they're not gonna have a chance. They won't have a fighting chance. So take care of yourselves, moms. A lot of self-care.
A lot of self-care.
Go to the gym, get a massage, get facials.
Yes.
Go out with your girlfriends, get a hobby.
Yeah.
Because if you're happy, you're going to make everyone else around you happy.
1,000%. Thank you for making that comment, because I couldn't agree with that more. Like you have to take care of yourself to take care of other people. You absolutely have to. And I think there's so much guilt that a lot of moms forget to do that part, because they think that, oh my goodness, I can't take care of myself first. Like, no, you got to take care of yourself first. Then you take care of everybody else, because if you do it when you're drained and you're angry and you're frustrated and you're just totally, completely like exhausted, it doesn't come from a good place, and it's not going to be good. You have to take care of yourself first. You have to put on your oxygen mask first. And I know we hear that term all the time, but it's really true. It's really, really true. And that's why we dance salsa. because
I don't know if that's the reason why, but
I think it's part of the reason why. We need music. We need to be around other people. We need to have a drink and just socialize, and that's okay, and that's all good. And I don't care what anybody has to say or how they may judge us for doing those things.
I know, right?
Too bad. Yeah. We're happy moms, and our sons benefit from that because of it. All right, Jess. So, I love that you made that whole, like, this very important message to the moms And, to parents in general, but especially to moms, because we are usually the primary caregivers, about getting their own self-care in and making sure that they prioritize that. The last thing that I just want to ask you, just to let everybody know, where is Austin now? Like, what is he up to now? What is his life like now?
Sure. So, right now he goes to a day program. He goes to a day program in Paramus, New Jersey. And I basically drive him in the mornings, and he's there from about 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. And at 4 p.m., I actually, with God's blessing, I do the sign of the cross, and he actually gets picked up by Access Link, which is public transportation, and they drop him off directly in front of my house.
Yeah.
And this can take anywhere from a half-hour commute to an hour-and-a-half commute.
Oh, wow.
Because there's multiple people on this bus, on this mode of transportation.
Yeah. Okay.
So it runs like a typical, it's public transportation.
Yeah.
So there may be 3 or 4 other passengers there,
Right.
and based on traffic. So he gets home during that time, around, like I said, anywhere between 4:30 to 5:30, 6 o'clock. And that's all done under the grace of God.
Yeah.
And, I bless the drivers, the other passengers, and to date, he has come home in one piece.
Thank God.
So thank God for that.
Yeah.
Then during the week, I try to put him as many extracurricular activities as possible.
Keep him busy. Yeah.
I try to keep him busy. So I do have a caregiver that comes in during the evenings. So I could go do my salsa, and usually she will take him for a walk. And I give a list of errands for him to do. Take out the garbage, do this, do that.
And he works out.
Yeah, this is not like a free ride for him, like he's got things to do.
He has chores.
Empty out the dishwasher, whatever it is. And then during the weekends, he does have a personal trainer. And during the weekends, we do a lot of things together during the day. He loves going to the movies. He loves going to the theater.
He loves to go out to eat.
Oh, that's one. Yeah,
and he has good taste in food too.
Yes. I'm so glad he doesn't drink alcohol, because then that would be a problem.
Yeah.
I also, he's pretty funny. Like every time,
And he travels with you.
Oh, yes. But another thing I wanted to mention, Alexa, who's actually my best friend during the course of the day, on the weekends, I'll tell Alexa, hey, play some salsa music. And I just give him a look, say, come on. And, he'll try. We'll try to do a little salsa, a little merengue. And, he's a part of that. And and we travel. And that's one of the things that, we do. Like, again, he has to live my life. So whenever there's a trip planned and I'm taking him with me, he already knows. I show him a video beforehand.
What you're gonna do.
What we're gonna do. I show him a video of the hotel that we're staying in. I show him the plane, and he sees the suitcases being packed. So he knows we are going on a trip. And one other thing I just wanted to mention right now, especially for the parents that have the younger kids, just like typical kids, they are evolving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they're still at the 3-year-old, 4-year-old, 10-year-old brain.
Yeah.
By the time they get in their 20s, they do become more mature.
Yeah.
And hopefully their behaviors will correlate with the age. I know there's a lot of typical people that we know that are 30, 40-year-olds, and they do act like 10. But we do know people like that, okay?
Yeah.
But typically the way it should work, it's like as you get older, you mature. So, if the kid is acting up now, please rest assured it will change.
It will get better.
It will get better. Things do get better.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's really
Oh,
true.
one other thing I wanted to say.
Yeah.
There is a program out there that I want all parents to please utilize. I
Yes.
don't know if it's back in service, but there are camps for
Oh,
special needs.
tell
And
us.
there is one that's in Hackettstown, New Jersey, and
Yes.
it's called Camp Merryheart.
Mary Heart.
Merryheart. I don't know if it's open, but
Okay.
prior to COVID, when it was open, it took me a while for me to put him there. But let me tell you, I had him there for a couple of years for 2 weeks. That you pack his bags, you
Oh,
drive him.
like a sleepaway camp.
It's a sleepaway camp. Yes,
Oh, that's awesome.
it's called Camp Merryheart, and you should talk to your social worker or
I'm
to your
writing it down.
coordinator because
Uh-huh.
besides that camp, there's other camps. There's
Okay.
day camps.
Yeah. There's a lot, and a lot of them you can find through, like, if they get ABA services, usually like your BCBA will be able to like point them out to you, or even through the schools, they get the notifications, sometimes way before you, or through Autism Speaks, you can also get good information from them, like what are the services that are.
Utilize those
Yeah.
services.
You have to maximize the support that you
Don't
can
be a
get.
hero.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
be a hero. That's all I'm trying to tell you guys. Don't
Yeah.
be a hero.
Yeah.
If those 2 weeks are available for you, send them away for 2 weeks. It's going to be so much better for them. They're going to learn some independence. They're going to learn how to get along with other people. They're going to learn that, you know what? You're not going to have your gourmet meals 7 days a week, what you want to eat. There's an apple, there's a burger. If you're hungry, you better eat that because there's no other food.
Right.
They will learn.
They
Even
do.
though
They
Austin
figure it
came
out.
back the first year, 10 pounds lighter. Because he didn't.
Wow. He's like, I lost 10 pounds. I hated that food
I
so
was
much.
like this, damn, I gotta put you in this camp more. And vino flaquito, but he ate, he wasn't starving, but it's just that no chucheria, no sneaking downstairs, grabbing the bags of potato chips and eating them at 2 o'clock in the morning. None of those things are
you
at
can't
his
do that.
disposal.
Yeah.
So take a look at these camps. There's multiple camps out there. There's sleepaway camps, there's day camps. Don't be afraid. Like
Yeah.
I know of women now, I just want to say this one piece and it breaks my heart. And I'll ask them, so what's your son doing? That could be my son's age, a little bit younger. He was up to the education is up to 21, right?
Right.
So I've talked to parents and their kids are 23, 24. I go, what are they doing? They go, oh, they're home. I go,
Doing
they're
nothing.
home. What are they
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
No, because I'm not gonna let my kid go here, go there. I'm like, who am I to judge? But I know it's a disservice to everyone. It's a disservice to the kid. It's a disservice to yourself.
Yeah.
It's just send them, let them go. They're not going to California. They're just going right here.
Yeah, it's local. Yeah.
They're going local. Just if you
Yeah.
want, you feel a little, put a recorder on, 24/7, hear the conversation.
I'm
Them
sure that
know.
now with all the technology, they have cameras and you could just watch them even if you want, because that's how the daycare centers are. So probably something like this, they have that too.
Yeah, and let them know, listen, I'm recording you. I'd rather let them know than so they know they have to be under and let them learn sign language while they talk,
So they're on
Hey,
there.
listen, this kid,
You're too much, Jess. No, but it's absolutely true. Like, we're afraid at first, and sometimes we can be like so overprotective that we don't allow them to explore other things, and those things might be really beneficial for them. It'll help them like to socialize, right? It'll break them out of their shell a little bit. It gives you some time to care for yourself. We only respite care. That's okay. It's okay to take advantage of those things. There's a reason why it's there. It's because we burn out since we're doing everything all the time. So, take advantage of whatever services are out there.
And go visit them. There's another great one in Tenafly. I think it starts from age 5 to adults. And in September starts a phenomenal Sunday program, and the volunteers and the caregivers and the teachers,
Yeah.
they are stupendous.
Yeah.
These are people that
trained,
you couldn't pay them enough, you know,
right.
for what they do for our children. And
Yeah.
if there's one thing I've learned being in this population, and I so grateful for them, are the educators.
Yeah.
Educators and everyone in the education system, from the aides to the teachers to the directors, this is a heartless job. It's a hard job. And you
Yeah.
have to give them credit, because they
Yeah.
are with our kids 20, 5, 6 days a week, all day long, helping them strive, trying to get better. And
Yeah.
as they get older and they take them up onto job on-site opportunities,
Yeah.
all these things, we as parents, and I'm telling you, if I could do it all over again, I would start it earlier. Like I'm late to the game.
Yeah.
But I was late to the game because I didn't know, but take it from someone like me, like my takeaways, treat them typical, like if they were a typical kid. What you won't allow for the typical kid to do, don't let your special needs child get away with it.
Right.
Be firm.
Yeah.
Be firm. It's very important to be firm.
Yeah.
And let them do everything that you do, like have them explore and engage in everything that you do. Show them more. If
All
anything,
the opportunities. Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Don't, once in a while stay, but take them hiking, take them swimming, take them.
They love all of that. It's very sensory. It's very
Yeah.
sensory, and parents don't realize that. Like, they love all of that. So let them go out there and explore. And actually, nature is like super great for them. It helps to regulate your nervous system and everything. So it's like one of the best things that you could do.
I also I've been following you, Divina, and I love the articles that you've been putting out and educating the public more on the back end part
Thank
of
you.
this disorder, because it's very important that
Mhm.
people understand the mechanics of what's happening in your brain
Yeah.
and all the health benefits that you're talking about by adding certain supplements, or how important doing certain things, how it
Yeah.
helps regulate the
Mhm.
nervous system, and just educating
Yeah.
more people about this, because the more that people understand all the background, they'll be more mindful and conscientious
Mhm.
of future activities. You know what? Divina said this. I bet you this activity will help engage
Yeah.
this part of the brain that seems to be, based on the studies, is a little lacking, or it needs more emphasis.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that, and I'm encouraging you to keep on doing that, because
Thank you,
you're
Jess.
educating the parents on a level that otherwise they will not be receiving this information, because doctors do not have time to
Yeah.
sit with the parent. They're like factories.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they don't have time to explain this to them, and they could rewatch it, all
Thank you
day
so
long.
much.
So keep
Yeah.
up the good work. That's very good.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, because sometimes I'm like, is anybody listening to this?
I am.
But I know how important it is. And it's really because I love parents so much, and I just want kids to have parents that know what to do for them, But yeah, thank you a lot for that, because it means a whole lot to me. It does. It really does. Thank you so much for being on the podcast, for being so candid, for sharing all the advice, for being, the powerhouse that you are. And, Austin is very lucky to have you, because, you are who you are. Like, Jess is a really strong woman. She's a super strong woman, and she's great. She's great. Like, when I get to talk to her, and just, she's a very brave person. She also puts herself out there a lot, and, you have a lot of courage.
Thank you.
I admire that about you, because I'm like the opposite of her. I'm very like reserved and quiet and private and stuff like that. And then, Jess is just like, she's who she is, and you cannot miss her. But, she's a beautiful person.
I don't know if that's good. I want to go under the radar moving forward.
You will never go under the radar. Uh, she's this personality. She can't help herself. That's who she is. And that's great. I love that about you. I do love that
Thank
about
you.
you. You have a wonderful personality. So you're gonna catch her soon. She's gonna be with me dancing samba, because that's one of the things that she wants. And so I still have to take her out for her birthday, and that's coming up soon. And when that comes out, I'm gonna make sure I put some videos of you dancing up there doing it.
Well, I'm gonna take some lessons before that day.
Oh my God. But you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it. We're definitely gonna have a good time. I'm really looking forward to it, because this is like my favorite place on earth.
I can't wait. Well, you scared me with the crop top. Noted.
Because we have some hot, sexy mamas. Sorry,
Well,
but we gotta be
edit
ourselves.
this piece out, because I'm not wearing a crop top.
All right, well, I am. You can wear whatever you feel comfortable with. But again, thank you so much, and for
You're
sharing
welcome.
your story, because these are all really personal stories, and it takes a lot to want to talk about these things, but that you're helping people, and I know that was what was behind all of this, right? Like you wanted to share your story because you want to help moms, and you want them to be prepared, and you want them to have the support that they need, and that's also why I do what I do. But I'm sure they're going to love your stories and love your personality, and they're going to be very happy that you shared your story with them.
Yeah, and anytime they want to come, any mom wants to come over, like on Tuesday, like the group of women, like, oh, this is one other thing I want to say, but it's relevant to what I'm going to say. Mm-hmm. One of the things I did not do, mm-hmm. which I'm doing now, and it's just because of my work, career, life balance.
Yeah.
It's very important, if you can, to once in a blue moon, once every 6 months, once every 3 months, to go out with other moms that have kids with special needs. Yeah. Because I rarely
relate to them in a different way.
I rarely did that growing up. It's like the last 20, I rarely did that because I was busy. I was working, raising the family, career, all of that good stuff, right? So I really never got a chance to share other stories, or to hear and share stories. And now, about a couple months ago, one of the moms from Austin's adult learning program set up a dinner, and about 15 of us went. And I'm sure at one time we were all in our 30s and young, and now we're a little bit older, our kids are older, and we're meeting each other for the first time. The first time. So we've been,
and it normalizes it. It normalizes it when you get to talk to other women and you hear their stories and the same frustrations and the same stories, and you're like, okay, what I go through is not.
And you learn from other women, and you learn from, like, hey, so what vacation spot did you go to? And they had who? And they have fulana that helped you. Tu sabes, para allá voy. Let's go to Miami and stay at the Fontainebleau Cave. There's that girl. What's her name? I'm gonna reach out to her, tell her I'm coming in 2 months. Like, it's little things like this. There's a saying, when you open your mouth, the world gets smaller. So talk about your things, talk about it. If you don't talk about it, opportunities, everything, there's nothing that could happen. So keep that in mind, and go out to dinner, meet these people, these other moms, have fun, share stories, don't be shy, and good luck to all of you.
But this is all part of their support too, hearing your stories and knowing when to like tap in. But everybody knows that they can always reach out to me, and then I have resources like Jess
Yes.
But if you're in the area, I could always be like, hey, let me, reach out to her because she knows. I have to get better about that, actually. I have to get better about like actually connecting with other moms. Because I'm not good at that. I'm not good at that at all. And I know it's important. I've tried through the ABA, the facility that provides the services to my son, but I think every time they try, I think the parents are shy and they say yes at first and then they don't do it. So they've tried like several times to get parent groups up and it never is successful.
You know why? Because the parent groups, it's work. It's not a parent group. Don't do a parent group.
It's an extra thing.
Don't do a parent group. Do something like, hey, let's go out to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, go out to dinner and no one, listen, and let them freaking have a couple margaritas and loosen up. That's what they need.
Yes, I would love to do that. You know what? I'm gonna start those events. Because
That's what they need. These women are freaking holed up all day con los treatments, que doctor, this and that. You think they want to go sit down in a parents group? And that's why I never did that. Honestly, that's why I never did parents group. You know why?
Yeah.
Because it became a cry fest.
Yeah.
My kid, what am I gonna do? And I said to myself, "Oh no, I cannot do this.
I'm not doing that." Yeah.
I'm not doing.
I
a
think that's
pity
why
party.
I shy away from it too, because it's like I don't want to hear the sob stories. I
don't
want
want to
it to
hear
be
sob
happy and I
stories.
want it to be fun and
Right.
like how can we do this together and yeah.
Like it should be like somebody's birthday, but it has to be the
like
special
let's all
need.
celebrate and let's do it the right way. Yeah.
Right. And then like on Tuesday, I'm going to this thing. It's somebody's retirement. I don't even know who it is. But one of the moms on the bus line to say, "Oh yeah, Jessica, Tuesday bicycle club." I said, "Who is it?" She goes, "Edna." I go, "I don't know." She goes, "Just come." I said, "All right." So I'm gonna go, and trust me, all these women, the only thing they're gonna do is drink and eat. But i.e., maybe you could form a little friendship. Maybe you never know.
Stories, yeah.
You tell a story, you never know.
Laugh, yeah.
Laugh and you make a connection because nobody wants to get together with somebody to hear, "Ay, que el niño se me meó en la cama anoche." Nobody wants to hear that shit.
Like we want to get over that because
all this is editing. All this edit this shit out. But I'm saying, really, I don't want to hear about that story.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
That you find all the towels, edit all this stuff out. This story we're talking right now. That you find a towel, you like this. What the hell is
what happened to that towel? Yeah. I know.
You know what I mean? So anyhow.
No, but thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your Friday evening time. This is precious time. And I hope you're gonna go out and have fun dancing.
I am.
I'll see you on the dance floor soon, I'm sure.
Yes, I will. All right, we'll talk during the week, okay?
Yes.
All right.
I love you so much, Jess.
Dr. Lopez. You truly are. Let me give you some profession. Let me give you some props.
You could just be Divina.
No. All right, no, but Divina, no, seriously, keep up with those videos. They're good. I watch them. I actually listen to them.
Thank you.
I'm listening.
You heard about the bone density? Make sure that you're keeping up with his bone density stuff. Like make sure his calcium and vitamin D is good and stuff. That he's getting it checked and that he's.
You know what I want to look into? See if you see anything like on your travels. Do they have anything like weighted vests? Like I see them.
They do. They have even weighted sweatshirts now. Yeah. So they have clothing now that it's weighted clothing.
I need weighted for because él está super jorobado. Like always at the bullshit. Like I'm like, oh no. I'm always paradito. Throw those shoulders back.
Yeah. They do. They have a whole clothing line. I saw it today actually. That it's all like weighted sweatshirts and weighted stuffed animals that they could put on their lap to like hold them down and stuff like that. Yeah.
Send me a link on that later.
I'll look for it and I'll send it to you.
And then call me later so we could talk offline about it.
All right. Let's officially say goodbye because that's the way we end.
Yes.
So Jess, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being so much fun. I'm sure so many moms are going to relate to you. And thank you for all the wonderful advice that you shared with everyone today.
You're very welcome, Divina. And thank you for all the wonderful tidbits on your videos. Even though someone like myself who's been in this for a long time, I still find the information that you're putting out there new, fresh, and more importantly, useful. So
Excellent.
Keep it up. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, Jess. Thank you so much.
If you enjoyed this episode, share it with your family and friends. Also, join me for my group parenting sessions. I want you to be the first to know, so go directly to my website at www.drdivinalopez.com and share your email with me. That way you'll be the first to know when sessions start. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Dancing into Parenthood and on TikTok at Dr. Divina Lopez. Also, if you like this podcast, please subscribe. That way you always know when a new episode drops. I love you. Bye.
Please keep in mind that all advice given in this podcast is general information. To understand your specific situation, you must consult with your pediatrician.